Hello everybody and welcome back. What do you like to draw? Do you ever get stuck for ideas of what to draw or how to make art? When I'm stuck for ideas, I use my hands. As you can see behind me here, I have some hand art that I've made, and I'll show you a couple of techniques for using your hands to make some very simple art. All you'll need for today's activity is some paper, pencil, eraser, and then some crayons or markers or paint to color in your hand designs. Let's get started. One of the easiest ways I find to get started with hand art is to simply trace my hands all over a big sheet of paper. I'm using a pen so it shows up a little bit better on the camera screen, but you can use a pencil for this step in case you want to erase your lines later. Now I'm right-handed, so tracing my left hand is pretty straightforward. It gets a little bit tricky when I have to trace my right hand. I've had lots of practice though, so I can usually do it fairly well. If you have a hard time tracing using your non-dominant hand, and that's the hand that you don't normally write with, you can always get somebody else to help you to do this. So for this first hand design here, you'll just trace your hand shapes all over the paper, up and down, backwards and forwards until you've filled the paper with overlapping hands. And what that does is it creates a really nice coloring book effect with shapes and patterns for you to fill in with color. I'll show you what I mean. There, so I've filled all of these shapes that I created in my hands with different colors, a different color for each shape that I created. You can use any color scheme you like, and it's a lot of fun to do. So here's another one that I did. And this one I played a little bit with the color, and I pretended that my hands were like transparent pieces of colored glass or plastic. So when the yellow hand overlapped the blue hand, I ended up with green shapes. When the red hand overlapped the yellow hand, I ended up with orange shapes. When a dark green hand overlapped a yellow hand, I ended up with light green shapes. And what do you suppose is going to happen here? I have a red hand overlapping a blue hand. That's right. I'll need to get a purple shape in there. Another fun way to do some hand art is to trace your hand on the paper. And again, I probably would use pencil for this step, but it shows up better on camera if I do this in pen. And once my hand is traced, I start to draw lines from side to side on my piece of paper. I'm going from one side to the other. I'll go straight across the page until I bump into my hand, and then jump over the wrist with a curve, and then go straight to the other side of the piece of paper. If I go down from that first line, you can see how I make all my lines parallel now to that first one. Straight across as if I'm going across the table, and then jump over my wrist with a curve, and straight across the table. And if you do this all the way up and down the page, you'll get a very interesting line pattern that you can color in. I won't do all of it here. I'll just show you a couple more. I jump over my hand, go across the page. Oops, that one went a little bit down. That's okay. One more jump and go straight across the page. Once you've filled up this whole page with those lines, you can start to color in your lines. Here's one that I have started and I haven't finished. I've actually done it in 2 settings. You can see I have 2 different types of pen that I'm using here. Do you see how you get kind of a 3D effect of the hand on the page when you've done that? So there were 2 quick ways to make art with your hands on paper and with colors. You can see a completed line drawing right here. And you can also see this picture, which is just hands filled with doodles. There's so many different ways to make art using your hands and pen and paper. What other ways can you think of? Have fun making hand art, everybody, and we'll see you again sometime. Bye.